Can we actually increase our memory in a way that it will differentiate from the most part of the society? A lot of people not gonna like this answer, but I've been working in a really top neuroscience labs in my country, two of them in only this year, and the short answer is no. There is not a single pill, there is not a single method which would help us to increase our memory by 100, 200%. But the another message is that there's a lot of minor things which can increase our memory by 2 to 7% maybe, if I would have to estimate, and connecting these things together can together increase your memory by 100%. And I'm not over exaggerating. I really tried this thing on myself, and I can say I really right now doubled the way how I study and the speed of that. So let me tell you the most important steps what you can do to actually increase your memory. First and super important step is your sleep. A lot of people underestimate the value and the role of sleep in our lives. But the truth is that it's absolutely crucial, not only for memory, but just to be a normal human being without being neurodivergent. Only one night of sleep can already massively decrease your cognitive abilities, and sleeping for 6 hours, which actually in our Western culture most of people consider as an absolutely normal, have a terrifying effect in a long term. After just few days, you act like you didn't sleep for exactly 48 hours and longer because your brain just starts to be massively retarded. You lose your ability to replace information from short-term memory to long-term memory, and through this, you lose any ability to study effectively. So the sleep is absolutely crucial. The sleeping time for different people is obviously very different, but I would say that if you're a healthy adult man, most probably you will need at least 7.5 hours during the night. 7 hours is an absolute minimum where you should never go lower with that. And what can help you with sleeping consistently is a dark room, stable sleeping hours, so every day you should sleep at the same hour. But I know we are not robots, we have different situations in life, and I'm also not sleeping in the same hours. So the real advice is to use this. This is a melatonin, and if you, like me, go sleep in a different hours during the week, I just usually use melatonin. I know it's a short-term solution to fix your sleep, but I don't have any other idea how I can start to go sleep in the same hours with a such changeable week schedule as I have now. So I use melatonin and I recommend it a lot because it helps me really. One day I can go sleep at 2 a.m. and another day I can go sleep at 10 p.m. So yeah, it's really worth that. The next important steps are block of studying. And a lot of people don't understand how Parkinson law works, because our brain tend to elongate tasks, elongate processes in a way to suit in an all given time which we have for a given task. So if you, for example, plan to study for exactly 4 hours, your brain will probably try to elongate this task, will try to find some extra things to do, extra, let's say, dopamine sources around your environment, which you can have to actually study exactly these 4 hours. This is probably coming from our ancestors, which had to have something to do for an entire day. So if they planned to hunt for an entire day, they probably needed to suit all this time with only hunting. And unfortunately, we today suffer from this process, because from studying, which can last for 2 hours, we can elongate this process for an entire day. And that's a problem. So to avoid this, you need to schedule exact block of time. I personally recommend 25 minutes for hard tasks which you have no ability to focus on and which really requires a lot of mental energy and mental effort. And for a little bit, let's say, more easy, more pleasurable tasks, I recommend 1.5 hours. Why it is like this? Because our brain works in cycles, and one cycle of our brain is something around 1.5 hours. So if you want to stay the most effective, if you want your neurotransmitters to be on your side and not against you, use your work strategically, work in cycles, and the best cycle is 25 minutes or 1.5 hours, depends on the tasks. The next stuff is the revision. There is absolutely not a way that you will be able to memorize information by just having a contact with them once in your lifetime, once before you have an exam. Absolutely, there is not a way, and trust me, I've done a big research about this. I've asked really a lot of great people, is there any way to do that? And unfortunately, no. The revision is absolutely crucial. But revision should be also done smartly. It's not a solution to revise every day for a few hours before an exam. You will lose firstly a lot of time, and second thing, that absolutely will not be effective. You should use the research which was done by Ebbinghaus over 100 years ago and which clearly explain how the forgetting curve works. He explained that the best time to do a revision is first one after 10 minutes from finishing studying, so basically exactly after you got know what is the material about. Then the next revision should be after 1 hour, then after 1 day, so 24 hours, then after 3 days, 1 week, 1 month, and 1 year. But I'm sure most of you probably don't have such long time period before an exam, or if you're extremely organized person. So the current version of Ebbinghaus method, let's say more current, is to do a revision in a time which will double every time from your previous revision. So when you finish studying, let's say after 1 hour you can revise, then after 2 hours, then after 4 hours, 8, etc. That's a more realistic version of Ebbinghaus method, and it's really useful before an exam if you want to do as few revisions as is only possible and still have as many benefits as also it's only possible. But a lot of people will ask, is there any supplement for a memory? And I would say yes and no, because in an internet space, in a biohacking space, one of the best supplement for memory which people talk about is PRL 853. It's probably one of the strongest and best supplement for a memory. But the problem is that its work, even though it's one of the best supplement, one of the best nootropic to memory, its work is really not so effective. Because after finishing studying, the difference between people who took PRL 853 in recent scientific researches done on this substance and people who didn't took that nootropic is just around 10%. And often in a short time period is less than 10%, is like 5 or 7. So really answer the question, do you want to take some unknown supplement which has absolutely unclear way of work and which we really don't know anything about, even in a neuroscience field, because there is so few researches about this supplement? Or do you want to rely on other ways how you can boost your memory? Because I will tell you honestly, I personally took this supplement, and you know what it gave me? I would say absolutely nothing. I did a lot of tests because I took this supplement like few times in my life, and I've never seen a massive difference in a way how I studied, how I memorized information. It just wasn't the case for me. Okay, maybe I noticed some slight difference, but I don't use it anymore, and it should be answer for you, is it worth of taking or not? Okay, this step is absolutely the most important, so I'm glad you still watch this video. And it's association. But I don't mean association, for example, let's create a poem. I mean really good association, which is one of the most effective way how you can memorize things. And this is a palace of memory. Why this is so effective? Because us human beings had to be good at memorizing just one things, and these were places. Imagine how dangerous for us could be losing our tribe, losing our hometown 100, 200, even let's be more extreme, 1000, 2000 years ago. It would be a total disaster for us. So we genetically are very gifted in memorizing how the places are structured in a space. So let's use that in memorizing new information. And that's exactly how the palace of memory works. Let me explain you on the example. Let's say that you want to memorize that ATP is a main source of energy for a cell. So first thing which you need to memorize is ATP. So I take it as a word atopic. For example, you can have atopic skin disease. So I imagine person who have a skin disease and scratch all the time, and this person is getting struck by the lightning right in my garden. I memorize exactly where it is in my garden and how it works. And this is how you should memorize things connected to a palace of memory. Of course, you can do your own research about palace of memory, what ways are the most effective, but I use the method which I called a clockwise method, where I put everything in an order of a clockwise. So let's say if here, for example, I have this person which was struck by the lightning and which has an atopic skin disease, there, which is in the order of a clockwise next place in my room, I would have another person which is doing something or another stuff which is happening right there. So I use the clockwise method, and this is the easiest way to use everything and do everything in an order and to not get loose in your imaginations. This is really the best way how you can memorize anything. The palace of memory, connecting place with a thing which you want to learn, because we were genetically designed to remember places really well, so let's just use that. Another thing is active recall. Let's imagine that you want to get from a city A to a city B. How you do this? Obviously, through an easiest way, which would be highway, some road, etc. You don't go through forest, you don't go through some fields, you just go through the easiest, most possible way. And this is exactly what we want to get in an active recall. You want to use your pathways which already exist in your brain, because obviously the memorized information are just connections between neurons by synapses. This is all what we mean by memorized information. This is all what it is. So if you try to actively remind something from your memory, you actually use a pathways which already exist in your brain. And through this, even if the answer is wrong, you memorize it strongly because you already use the pathways which are created to memorize this given information. So how you can use that in practice? Use any active learning method. Like for example, you can do a test from ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT, hey, it's a material, give me a test, make it harder, make it easier. Depends how advanced you already are in your learning. But just try to find some way to test your knowledge. Try some ways to put out from your brain the memorized information, because it's really one of the best things which you can do when you are studying. The next step is about diet. And here I mean take omega-3 acids. The best is together with food. You don't need extra supplements. You can just eat eggs, fat fishes, fat meats. That's really enough. Olive oil, that's what you need to have omega-3 acids in your diet, because your brain is not protein. It's in 60% fat. So absolutely you need to consume healthy fats in your diet, which your brain is just built from. And one supplement which I actually recommend is a lion's mane, because it has proven by science way how it works, and it works through increasing the number of neurons in our brain. And by increasing number of neurons, probably we can create more synapses, which are just memorized informations. And through that, of course, increase our cognitive abilities. I use it with my morning coffee. It's really tasting normally. It's a nice thing to drink. So the one supplement which I really recommend for memory and for cognitive abilities is a lion's mane. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like it, remember I have whole ebook about increasing IQ, boosting your cognitive abilities, increasing the studying effectiveness, let's say. And yes, it's in the description. It costs only $10 and it's based on over 50 scientific researches. So I highly recommend to get this, read this, and be just a better person. See you in next video. Ciao, ciao.